Hey, TikTok. How you going today? All right. Battery's gonna die. All right, so I'm going to be doing some work on leopard seal, artdoll. So all right, so I'm using some minky fabric, which I'm going to be covering the head with. So this one has a movable jaw. So I'm doing the top piece in the minky fabric, get it all covered. Pin came out. Okay. All right. So this is basically what it's going to look like. I would like to put some fabric in here. Well, I can still get in there. So I need to cover this gap here, sort of seal it off. So I'm going to do that with a bit of fabric. Maybe this one. Love that pose. It's a bit of an odd pose. Hey Mel, how are you? I'm good. I'm trying really hard to finish the leopard seal today. So I'm just trying to put some fabric in here to cover that gaping hole. So I just need to sort of trim it to size. And then I'll paint it. So I want it to sit nice and flush. Sort of like that. All right, so I'm going to cut that here. Thank you so much for the likes. Okay. So it's a bit fiddly. It was a bit easier with the bigger leopard seal, obviously. This one's a bit fiddly. So probably like that. Tuck that in there. All right, let's put some glue. So I'm going to glue this side of it. Hi, Eddie. Hi from Melbourne. There's always heaps of people from Brisbane here. You're doing okay? I know, I'm almost done. How big is a hole in the mouth? It's not very big. It's just from, the jaw separation. So it's just, I don't know how well you can tell. Just that little gap there. So obviously I want to smooth this out. And I'll paint it, match up a colour for that one. All right, so I'm just going to do some fabric glue. If it will come down eventually. I think for all the likes, Anastasia. Takes 10 minutes for it to come down. So this is a bit fiddly, this part, putting all the minky fabric on. So I'm going to use the backing of the minky fabric, not the front, for this. So just put in a bit of glue all the way around. A bit in the middle. All right. Do you sell them? Yeah, I have a shop, creaturesinap.com. You can find all them. This one's a commission piece. But yeah, chameleons up there. But yeah, I sell them. Oops. Okay. Don't know how well we can see that, but we're getting it in there. Okay, so I've got a bit of glue on there, which I can clean up as we're going. There we go. Okay, so it's kind of what we got so far. So you're going to use the back of the fabric to show the mouth. Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to paint this bit. I'm going to mix up a colour that matches the gum line. And yeah, I'll paint that. So I did it with the other leopard seal that I made, and it worked really well. But you just have to, match up the colour. All right, so just going to get the edges. Clean my tool. So I'm just going to get a little bit of glue on my pin tool and sort of just do the edges so it's not so loose, just a little bit. So we can't leave like a gaping hole gaping hole in the mouth. I think that's very finished. It's a bit rough. And I'm not too concerned about using too much glue because, again, I'm going to paint it. So okay, sort of see how it covers it. A bit neater, so it'll look a bit more finished once I paint it, obviously. But you know, even when this dries, I'll go over it with some more glue just to, you know, tie up these loose ends. Anything that's sitting there that I think needs a little more glue. But I'm not going to open and close the mouth too much until it's dry. But yeah, that's sort of how it looks. All right, so now we're going to work on gluing all of this closed. Not closed, gluing all of this minky fabric on. So I'm just going to start by doing this bit here. And I'm going to have to try and match up the seam lines, which it's like inevitable. Is it easy to colour the mouth still? Yeah, it's fine. I water it down just like a little bit so it soaks into the fabric. But yeah, it's just, I think mixing the colour is the hardest part, to be honest. All right, so I've got this loose. Normally I attach this to the head, but I'm leaving it loose until it doesn't really need to be attached. I think it might restrict it a bit too much if it's glued. So I'm just going to leave that loose and then just start working on this. So a liberal amount. So try to do straight line. Okay. And the good thing about this fabric is you can stretch it. So I'm going to start off like this. I don't want to press too hard because I don't want that glue to sort of bleed through the fabric. So now try to avoid as much wrinkling as possible. You know, sometimes it's inevitable. There's not much you can really do about it, but so just gonna wait. I'm gonna trim it prematurely. Okay. So I'm gonna let that dry. Won't take long for it to sort of tack off where I can you know, start to apply the next bit. So I'm trying to do it all in one piece and just have like really minimal wedding veil. Does right. Hello. Right, so yeah, when I get to the eyes, so I might just add So I think I did a seam line sort of where it puckers just here. So I try to follow where the fabric's naturally going to sit. So it sort of puckers there. So I think for the last one I did a seam line here and it hit pretty well. So I think that's where the next seam line will be. So not too bad. Let's see, it's sort of lifting off there if I play around with it too much. So I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes or something, 5-10 minutes to sort of tack off. When I finish it, I will sew that to the head. Sew these together, sew that to the head. And yeah, so that's sort of what we got so far. So I'll leave that to dry. And then, yeah, do the seam line. Yes, okay. All right, let's leave that to dry. Now, I can try and sew some Zoomies cat. Maybe I'll sew one and then go back to the leopard seal. That should be sort of tacked up by then. So at least want to get some sewing done. Sometimes you just need to trim a little bit off as you go as well. Don't always get it in the first shot. So start off in the corner. So I'm going to stitch it closed, tie it off here. Right. Okay. I'm trying to keep these quite tight. Vest to sweater. I at least want to get sort of one sewn up, at least. Still have to do the Gila Monster, actually, the vest bit, the torso piece. So I just have to go through and pick out all the pile along the way because it gets trapped under that thread. So see, it starts to sort of take shape. It's not so oversized. And then when I trim it, it will really sort of start taking its shape. And then I'll add faux fur to the face and it will look nothing, it will look awful. But yeah, this is the most time-consuming part of it. It's the hand sewing. A cat wearing... Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I could do that for my action cats. You know what I could do? I could do a Sphinx cat with a sweater. I think an ugly sweater. I'm not much of a knitter though. But I could find, like, you know, some ugly fabric and do a Sphinx cat for the next action cat. I could do like a unimpressed face Sphinx. So I just use like a fake suede to do the skin. I think that's a good idea. Not meaning to pinch your idea, but with the sweater. But that's what came to mind immediately. All right, I'm going to tie this off, so just in case we snap. I can find it. Mr. Rogers sweater. What's that? Is that the chicken thing? I was thinking like ugly Christmas sweater. Or maybe do I save that for Christmas? Or do I do two? I could do two. I have to Google like ugly sweaters. That'll be my Christmas doll. That's it. One of my Christmas doll. Sphinx cat with a Christmas sweater. Perfect. All right. Bit of a weird pose here, but it's questionable for people that come in. Confusing, I should say. Another pin in here. That'd be cute. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think that's a cool idea. See? I think a couple of lives have come up with like these weird ideas. The chameleon was a spur of the moment TikTok discussion doll. Oh, I think my battery died. Of course it did. My camera batteries had it, I think. Without getting much use out of it anymore. I think I need to buy new ones. How much for the chameleon or a commission? Commission pieces just really depends on what you're wanting, but it can range anywhere from $480 to $680 USD, just depending on what it is, how complex it is. But generally, they're in the ballpark of $580. Generally, $680 is like on the extreme end of complexity. And size. But yeah. Just depends. And I do offer payment plans too, to make it a bit easier. Okay. Getting wrapped around the bloody paw. So all these dolls that I'm working on, aside from the leopard seal, will be up for grabs when I finish them, eventually. When you film yourself doing art pieces, what camera? So on TikTok, I'm just using my phone, so it's nothing too glamorous. I know you can use TikTok Studio, which is on the computer. And for YouTube, it's nothing glamorous. It's literally just a webcam with a mic in it. But I've only just sort of started doing the YouTube ones just to see sort of how it went, because I'm already doing the TikTok. But yeah, that's kind of all I'm using. Nothing glamorous. I've got a flash goal. What's that? I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, TikTok told me to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm only sort of new to. You use your own camera from your computer. Yeah, it's just like a little Logitech webcam that you can plug in the USB. So it's nothing flash. It's just got a mic attached to it. So it's not a flash one. But I've also got a Yeti, Blue Yeti microphone when I do my videos. So I record on that. It's not bad. I don't know how to use it properly. So I should actually, Google how to use it properly. But I don't. All right. Okay, just tie this little section off here so it doesn't unravel. Bits, pieces. So I think I might do a fantasy animal in the next batch as well. I haven't done one for a long time. Okay. Now, for this one. I'm going to sew up. I'm going to go over here and sew up this a little bit more. Yeah, restriction. I'm not going to mention WEBSITE. I won't mention that word. Unless it can learn spelling. Let's say algorithm can learn spelling. I'm not going to say it. I reckon that's what tripped it. Last time. All right. It's a bit tricky working with fur. Such a messy process. Okay, tie this off here. Really need to find some white upholstery thread that's a bit stronger than this. All right. Yeah. Now I'm going to see that's all sewn up here. So now I'm going to sew around and attach it to the rest of the body. And then we'll move back to the leopard seal. This is why I like to chop and change, have heaps of dolls on the go for situations like this. You just have to wait for things to dry or, you know, all that stuff. Right, so this stitch needs to be pretty tight because we have to close this gap. So keep the tension on it. Sometimes it's hard to see where you're actually going. All right, that should be good. So this will all be shaved. Can't be that long. I'm gonna airbrush this brown as well. So, all right. Now we're gonna go around. So I generally place it to the extreme position, so it can sit, you know, without any seam lines come out or unravel. If it's okay to ask, how did you learn to set up payment plans? All I do is I use PayPal. So on WIX, they have a manual payment method where you just go through the checkout and it doesn't, customer doesn't pay for anything. And then I just send, an invoice through PayPal with, however much they want. You can, create an amount that you want to do. And then so I can just get them to let me know when and how much, and just keep doing that until it's paid off. And I'll just leave a little note each time. They also have, you can create an invoice on there directly and send it to the email. So there's a couple of options. Or if you're using ETSY, try not to name drop here. If you're using that, they, I forgot what I used to do. I don't know if they have payment plans anymore. I don't know what I used to do. I think I used to do the same sort of thing, but they might have something that they set up now. I don't know if they have Afterpay or something. All right. But I find that's the easiest way, just to send an invoice. That way it's you can keep track of it yourself and whatnot. But yeah, that's sort of the best way that I've found. But I think they have you can set up payment plans on there now. They never used to, but yeah, I think they have that option there now, which I haven't really tried, to be honest. All right, I think I'm just going to, I don't know if this needs a bit of a trim or not? Maybe not. Maybe like the tiniest bit. Not too much. Okay. I'm going to try and keep a bit of tension on this section because that's sort of where a lot of the tension is on the legs when you pose it. So I generally try to tie it off a few times up here. Yeah, so they just basically click your invoice and it takes you through to PayPal. And have I ever had issues? I have pretty frequently have issues with people either forgetting that they've set up a plan, you know. I mean, you can set up when you want the invoices to be sent out, so it goes, you know, automatically. But yeah, the only real issue is, yeah, people, I think they're just forgetting, you know, because, or, you know, if they have, you know, some kind of financial change. Like generally I don't do refunds, but, you know, sometimes I do. I feel bad if I keep it. I feel bad. So I would generally just refund them and put the doll back up. These things happen. But no, not really. Just people forgetting, to be honest. Majority of people are fine. It's only a really small number of people. But I generally try to do everything through my site, so it's all like in one place and I can keep track of it a bit better. Sometimes if you do it, you know, outside, it gets a bit messy, and at least with this you can, you know, keep it all in one place and make notes. All right. Now, find the end. Do you send the doll to them once they're done paying? Yeah, once it's done. Never ever send it before. Yeah, never send it before because they will run away. You say bye-bye to that. So usually I've had a few people ask over the years, you know, if I send it before it's been finished, and I say no, and it sort of weeds those people out. Never ever, never ever. Oh, thanks. Never. Yeah, you will never say that again. So even if it's finished, there's been many times where it's finished a commission and it just sat around for, a month or whatever until they're done. Not saying everybody's like that, but you never know who. Sometimes you might get, a young person that uses their mother's or father's parents' card or thinks it's okay to spend that without asking their parents. That's a thing. It's definitely a thing. All right, let's tie this off. Or they pretend to be their parent. And the funny thing is, I think they're doing a really good job, but the language and spelling is the same. All right. Let's check that's sewn up properly. Can't feel any holes. I think we're good. All right. Well, that's one leg. Yeah, well, it doesn't really affect. That's a them problem, not a you problem. That's what I say. It's a them problem. Okay. Just trying to, brush out, blend all the hair in. So it starts to blend in a bit better. So this will all be trimmed. So it looks a bit odd now, but this will all be trimmed. So it's nice and thin. Not so bulky. Just try to blend it in here. Okay, that's one leg. So I'll wait till everything's sewn up before I glue all the pieces together too. All right, so it's already starting to look less bulky than what it was. See? You can see the trust the process. It's not me, it's exactly. It's true. Okay. Back to this one. It's true. It's the parent's responsibility, not mine. Okay, so this is pretty much dry enough. So it's sort of sticking now. All right. So now what we're going to do, see we've got the natural fold here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pin that before, actually I might change my battery, hang on. Just quickly pin this. Change the battery. Thank you for the follow. It's going to be a nightmare of a top to clean. See, my poor camera batteries is just losing their mojo. Losing their mojo. Need new ones. I dropped one in water actually. It flew out the back of my camera and landed in my paintbrush water. It's just like, have you made a commission but the client never finished paying? I generally try not to have a deadline. Have I ever had one? A commission piece? No, I haven't. But a payment plan I have. There's been a few people that have, I don't know, situations changed for them and they can't go through with it. I've just refunded them. It's just fine. Sometimes if I know that's just, they're just being a pain, I kept the deposit, which I tell them, not 10%, it's 10% deposit. But no commissions though, surprisingly. Okay. I think that's good. So I might just know what I'll do actually. So what I did with the last one, it took me forever to do it. Weird pose. I'm going to do all the way down here first. That's what I'm going to do. This bit here. Because at least I can stretch it. That's what I did. The nostrils I cut out. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Hello, my wife. I've had someone not like the doll when I finished it. This person is particularly, she's a regular customer, but she's a little bit of a difficult customer. And yeah, I made a doll and gave her updates, and then she didn't like it at the end and wanted something else, which is fine, I guess. I just made a new one. What she wanted, she changed her mind on what she wanted. She said she wasn't happy, and you know, she was a regular customer too. So, you know, try to keep the 50%. Yeah. Yeah. Usually the 10%, you know, weeds them out. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, some regulars are fine and some are not. Some are just a little bit more difficult. And yet sometimes people with like intellectual disabilities as well, sometimes they can be difficult, but I try to be really understanding about it. But they're just excited. I have one regular that would ask every day when she'd commission how it's going, which is fine. I know they're just very excited. So I try very hard to be understanding. All right, so nostrils. Cut the nostrils. You have to be understanding. Hey, Sonia. We started following you a while ago, but you started back watching. Oh, thanks. Oh, thank you. You made a pheasant cockle in the middle of a wolf. Oh, thank you so much. What did I do with the original doll? I just put it in my shop. I found a home. I just put it in there. Sometimes it's happened a few times. Sometimes I just ended up customizing the doll. Like, you know, I'm like, fine, I got the doll here. I can, you know, customize it into like some kind of fantasy thing. So I did that with one of them. I think one or two of them, something like that. One of them was a wolf that they wanted like a grey wolf, and then they bailed, and I ended up customizing it, and that was fine. I was cool with that. always try to be understanding, you know. You don't know what's changed in their situation. So I had one recently. She bought the anteater and was on a payment plan and then decided that she couldn't do it or whatever. So I said to her, you know, obviously the 10% deposit, keep that, but if you come back, I'll take that off the cost of another doll, you know, if you come back. Yeah, exactly. You don't know what. There's another one that she bought, it was last year, I think. She bought 2 of my dolls and then, you know, messaged me and said, I can't do it. I know this person, like mutual sort of community follow sort of thing. I just refunded her because I know her. Sounded like, I'm pretty sure she genuinely had something come up. But then she came back and bought one of them. So, you know, a couple months later, still there, and she came back and bought it. So, you never know what happens. Right, trying to get rid of these wrinkles. Sort of feed the wrinkling out. I cut out little nose holes, which I'll go in with some more paint and just accentuate it a little bit. Let's take a little bit more off this side to match. I really need new scissors. These ones are starting to get, they've been through some stuff. They've seen some things, to say the least. All right, we'll even that out when I paint them. But yeah, little nose holes. So sort of try and stretch the fabric over. How do I cut the eyes out? So what I'll do is basically, next step is I'll glue this down here, and then I'll sort of cut where the eyes are and just cut it out like that. And then this seam line I'll sort of follow down. I'll have to cut a little bit out here, trim this excess off, and sort of try and blend this seam line a little bit. But yeah, I'll cut out the eyes like so. You get me? I'll just cut a little bit so before I haven't stuck anything down, but this should be a safe area. So I'll cut the eyes out like that. But should be pretty much stuck, surely. So I'll glue this bit down. Just trying to minimize like the seam line. Yeah. So I'll put some glue down now. It should be good to go. And then I'll, yeah, trim that excess off. Obviously that's too much. So let's do that. I have to get rid of that. Clean my hands. All right, this should be good to, it's kind of stuck as it is. Okay, so a little bit of glue up in here. Try and feed it into the areas I can't get in. So just sort of where it naturally wants to fold, that's where I'll get rid of. Underneath. I'll let this dry properly before I do that though. So another cat leg in the making, coming up, another cat leg. So I'm going to trim this. Okay. And then all right, a little bit here. I'll trim this up a bit better once it's all dry. All right, next lot of glue. Okay. Now I'm going to trim. let that seam line dry. When you start the painting process, where did I get my airbrush? This is the one that I use. It's an Iwana HPCH. It's not the cheapest of ones, but that's the one that I use. So it's got a pot. You put your paint in, and then you attach the compressor to that. And you just sort of, so that's the one that I use. You could get it at, like, I don't know what they've got around your area, but like a hardware store or like a paint store or something online. The fabric paints are these ones. So they should be pretty easy to find, these ones. Or you can just use acrylic paints and just water it down a little bit. That works fine. Okay. Okay. Again, I'm not recording. Keep forgetting. That's okay. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue. So I'm trying to blend in this seam line so you can't see that it's there. I mean, it's gonna be there, but nothing you can do about it. But it's not bad. I mean, you can't tell that well. And when I add like color to it, it sort of blends it in a bit more. So it's not all bad. Right, there's a bit of excess here. So I'm going to trim this a little bit. Not much you can do about this. These little bits here is what it is. I should be under there. All right, let's cut the little eye bit out. Be good if I had some sharp scissors. So the seam line sort of where these two bits meet, that's a seam line, but you can't tell that well. So that's basically where the two, so this is like a sewing seam line, and this is like the seam line where these two bits meet. So just try to hide it as best we can. Okay. It's a little bit more. You can't even tell. Yeah, it's not. It's all right. You can't tell really. And when you add color to it, it will disappear even more. All right. So this will need to be cleaned up, obviously, when it's all finished. I'll redo the eye color. Just start sort of blending it a little bit. Just remove that bit there, I reckon. Just add a bit of glue just to blend that down. Okay, that's the eye, one eye. Okay, so this side, we'll find the eye. Thought it was like a rhetorical question. What seam line? A complimentary question. What seam line? Okay, bit of glue. I can get it off. All right. Where do I get my eyes and nose pieces? The noses I sculpt. The eyes, you can get pre-made ones or you can make them yourself. So I use cabochons. These are pre-made ones. So you can just get them off, eBay or AliExpress or something like that. You can get blank ones, which is what I did for the Burmese. You just make your own eyes. So printed off a bunch of eyes. Generally, I've been making them. These ones are just painted black because they don't really. They're just black. So you don't need to do anything really. All right, let's give this a trim. But yeah, I just use glass cabochons. All right, so just trying to neaten up these areas here, which I'm going to repaint over in black. Just this little gum line. But just use some glue to smooth it down. Have the void. Have the void. They are such weird faces in general. It's kind of what I wanted to make one in the first place. They're my favorite seal. Seal. Because why not? All right. Okay. I'm just using the glue to sort of tie it off and make it look more like a startup gum line, which I'll paint over the top. Okay, this side. Yeah. They're just so cool and gnarly looking. So to blend in this seam line here with the bit that's already existing. Okay, a little bit of glue. I haven't seen Happy Feet. I'm terrible with movies. All right. Can't even tell. How are we going? Stretch that out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Okay. Now, in terms of this seam line, take these off, pins out. So I'm going to trim even it up. So I'm going to trim it probably about here, I reckon. And then I'm going to sew. I'm going to trim this off here. That can be sewn. And then this, yeah, I think I might trim it here so I can glue that there and sew that. Exactly. They go through a rough time. So about here. Try to keep it neat. out there. Just a little bit. Trying to hide it in the like this jawline bit. Okay, I think that's pretty well hidden. And then I'm going to sew this. So 1, 2. I'll just wait to trim that top bit. Yes, I'll wait to trim the top bit, just in case we lose some length on it. Now, I can't trim too much off this, otherwise we're not going to have enough to sew on here. Really, I should follow that. It's not going to be hidden here, but I'll try and hide it as best as I can. All right. Tiny bit. All right. Okay, I think that's looking good. All right. Looking good. So what I'll do So I'll sew this up with the jaw closed. So that's sort of what it's going to look like. Looks like it's got one of those sun hat things. This has to be that long to cover this. I have to leave that this long. So he's wearing a little sun hat, covers your neck. But I'll trim that probably to about probably that much. Sew that all up. Sew that together. All right, what's the time? Cute hat. Sometimes I need some sun protection, you know? All right, there's no point me starting sewing because I get like 2 stitches done. Anyway, I'm going to chuck all this out. So we're almost done. I have to do the flippers on the fingers. I'm going to call them fingers. Veiled seal, veiled seal, veiled chameleon, veiled seal. All right. We're getting there. I've mangled it. We can always Alright, that's pretty much it from me today. So tomorrow I'll be back and I'll do some more work on the seal. Okay, there we go. See, that's better. Mangled it a bit. So I'll do some more work on the seal. So I'll stitch all this and I'll try and get the fingers and stuff done for the flippers, and then it'll be ready for airbrushing. So it's pretty much it from me today. TikTok, I'll catch you tomorrow. And yeah, I'll be on tomorrow as well. Oh, thank you. Let's try and finish everything, the bulk of it tomorrow. All right, I'll catch you later.